So coming back to 2015 now. So in 2015, you started a very big project in Kanchipuram.
That's right. So between 2005 and 2015, we were continuously doing work for HCL Technologies for their corporate buildings. But at that time, I also did some work which was not directly connected to the corporate buildings. We did some school work for them for a school. And I also did a restoration project for Mr. Nadar's personal residence, which was near Tirchandur. So even though I don't have any direct background as a sort of restoration architect, this was something that was a small house which he wanted me to do, which I worked on. In 2015, he was approached by the Kanchi Mutt for a contribution towards the Kumbhabhishekam of the Kamakshi Amman temple. And at that time, it was decided that he would sponsor that work, not only financially, but also with the supporting technical team. And I was part of that technical team.
Okay.
So it was an opportunity to really work with multiple stakeholders.
Yeah.
To be part of this effort to restore the temple and build the area in and around the main temple. So we didn't do anything. The core temple, of course, remained untouched beyond some cleaning, etc.
Yeah.
But the area in and around the temple, 5 acres is the extent of the temple complex.
Yeah.
So we completely redid the infrastructure there.
And you did this independently, or was this part of, was CRN as an entity?
Yeah, so I mean, I did this in my individual capacity.
Okay.
Because the client had put together this small team, and this was sort of done for the temple.
Yeah.
But of course, some engineers from CRN were also involved.
Yeah.
At this time, we had decided that post the restoration, we would do a documentation of the work that we had done.
Yeah.
And also build it further into doing some kind of walks around the temple and its temple precincts to talk about the heritage, to talk about the art and the architecture. So around this time, again, it was an opportunity to get into the larger scale of things and look at the cityscape as a whole rather than it as only one building.
Yeah.
And I also decided to formalize all the work that I was doing with public spaces and sort of created a new entity, which was called CityWorks, which was focused on improving the built environment from the perspective of cities itself. And this was an important step because it brought a structure to some of the things that we were doing around education, awareness, capacity building, training, research, and actual design.
And this allowed you also to build a dedicated team purely to work on these projects.
Because I realized that the day-to-day practice of an architecture firm is so consumed with sort of meeting immediate deadlines, challenges, and firefighting on some of our projects, that if we have to focus on something that is almost non-solicited, like some of the work that we were doing is not really, it's grassroots, it's driven by our own interest, you need to have a dedicated team to focus on that if you want to further those interests. So CityWorks has its own space, it has its own set of...
which is where we're sitting
right now.
Yeah.
Its own architects, and our mandate is to see what and in what capacity can we do something to improve the urban experience.
Yeah.
It could be waste management, it could be water treatment, it could be upcycling, it could be design of parks, better pedestrian facilities, signage, history, storytelling.
Anything that you see in a public built-up space.
Anything that makes living in the city a little bit better.
And Since you're doing this type of work, and you talked about a lot of research and everything, so that means you've been doing a lot of documentation of all your projects as well.
Yes, one of the things we realized is that when you start to look for information that is specific either to our heritage or to public space, a lot of stuff is not available in an organized manner. So every project that we do, we're trying to put together details and drawings and narratives so that records of those stay with us, but also we are happy to share it with anyone who wants to do similar projects in the future. So for example, the entire work around the Kamakshi Amman temple restoration, we put it together in a book, which has the drawings and the details that are now available for someone if they decide to take up a similar work.
And that's there's
a copy of the book that we have here. And
so as I was saying, it's like a proper resource, right?
Yes.
Someone knows they're not starting literally from scratch.
Right.
If someone was to read this, it would at least give them an inkling into what to expect while they work on the project.
Right. And it's not perfect by any means, but I think it's really important that we build a culture of documentation and sharing of knowledge, because the things that we have in India as challenges with respect to our built environment, everything is multiplied by thousands of times. So it needs that anyone who does good work should definitely keep that record available for others to learn from it.